Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm a song by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder.
What's the song by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder?
Ebony Ivory.
Ah.
Which is perfect for what we're about to talk about.
Oh, because it's black and look. Wow, you went levels with that one.
I don't think you guys listen. If you're listening to this, I think sometimes you guys don't appreciate the names that I use that are like several levels deep of a joke, you know?
Yeah. What we need to do is get famous and get famous enough that someone puts out a wiki with an explanation of every name you use. But we're never going to get famous enough because we swear too much, our episodes are too long, and we don't promote ourselves at all.
Are we supposed to be doing that?
I mean, I don't know. This is a hobby, and this is why we're not monetized. We do this for the love. And today, for the love,
what are we doing?
We are going to be going over Macchiato Monsters. Macchiato Monsters.
A game that deserves a better title.
Oh my God. I don't disagree with you. This is from Eric. I'm going to say Nieudan, printed from Lost Pages. Big Lost Pages lovers here on the show. Wanted to show off some of the Lost Pages stuff that I have, including some new stuff that literally just arrived.
You just got new stuff.
I just got new stuff. First one, Beyond the Pale from Eli Gall. This book is absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Great book. Let's turn off the blur for you guys in podcast land. You don't give a shit about the blur. But for those on YouTube,
they might care.
Beyond the Pale, beautiful looking book, really absolutely stunningly gorgeous. It came with the patch, the zine of Jewish monsters, magic and mayhem as well, and a whole bag of Jewish folklore magic bits like nails and rocks, and it smells delicious. It's been a long time since I had a box that smelled as good as this one did before I opened it. It's a lot of cinnamon. It's really good. The other thing that just arrived as well is Wolfwald. Very excited for this. This is the Kickstarter that was out actually before Beyond the Pale. I've been waiting for this for a while. It's really fantastic. It's like 5 zines inside this gorgeous box. One of my favorite things about this box, and for all those making boxes out there, see the front, see how it's beautiful. For those in podcast land, it's got this like 3-headed wolf situation on it, some runic, some Nordic rune writing on the top, but on every edge it also has the logo.
Oh yeah,
which means
that's
however I decide to put it on my shelf, left, right, flat, whatever, I get to see the logo.
Diagonal.
Great. Love that. Theoretically, you could see it like twice if you diagonal it.
Hey, wow.
Hey, so this is how I'm going to start putting all my books so I can see them twice. Other stuff from Lost Pages real quick. A gift from Paolo was something I ordered before. This is Beautiful Yet Lost. I got a couple more POD things here. We got the Wonder and Wickedness. This you can actually get on Drive-Thru. It's really fantastic. And then also the Marvels and Malazons. But a book that's very reminiscent of Beyond the Pale was the Book of Gob. Beautiful, stunning book. Same style, same kind of like, it's fabric, but not. I really love this. Whatever it is, I need to talk to Lost Pages about this, because I love fabric, but like I feel like as soon as I touch it, I leave finger stuff on fabric books.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
oily finger stuff.
But you don't on this. It feels really nice. I really like this a lot.
I love that cover.
With the 6 fingers, and it's like actually embossed too. It's like deep in. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Return the Slab guy from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Return the slab.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last thing I have to show off from Lost Pages, we got Chthonic Codex. This is dope box.
Ooh.
I spent too much to get one of these.
Nice.
But I like Lost Pages, so that
money,
is the whole Lost Pages.
Money isn't real. Only the tabletop RPGs are real. So
yeah, you don't listen. You can't get married with money, but you can get married with your TTRPG collection.
That's true. It's too true.
Buried.
Married.
What did I say?
Married.
Doesn't matter.
With a B.
Yeah. Anyway, Lost Pages made Macchiato Monsters. We are going to be going over Macchiato Monsters. One of the reasons we chose to go over Macchiato Monsters, well, actually, the reason we chose to go over White Hack, the reason I made us go through White Hack is so that we could do Macchiato Monsters, because I love this game. This is honestly, we'll get into my feelings about it, but I really enjoy this game a lot, and it's called Macchiato Monsters.
It is.
So it is actually it's a mix of the Black Hack and the White Hack. And we'll get into why it's called Macchiato Monsters, because it talks about it in the book. What's interesting is we'll get into it when we get in there. What's your quick take on this before we?
I really like this game. So
yeah, it's good, right?
I like this a lot. The magic's good. I mean, I'm such a one trick pony, dude. Like I'm so like single minded. Like if you have good magic in a game, and it's also a D20 roll under, like I'm probably gonna like your game. And that's all it takes for me. Also, like this brings back risk dice, which are usage dice, which I always love, and I love them implemented into a game as like a decision maker for different things. I think it's cool, a way to track stuff, and a great utility. But yeah, I think this is very cool.
Yeah,
I also like the very open-endedness of like how like have like character concepts, which White Hack does really well. As much as I don't like reading White Hack. But I do like that it really holds on to that very open-ended like character concept that you can build yourself, Yeah.
I really love Macchiato Monsters because we talked about it on the end of the White Hack episode. The only reason we primarily do indie TTRPGs. Not that like White Hack and Black Hack and Apocalypse World aren't like indie
My mom
RPGs.
owns White Hack, so
theoretically, I mean, outside of like 4 publishers, everything's indie if you go by money. But like that's not what we're really talking about, right? But like a lot of the older games that we look at, we are only looking at because so many of the games that are coming out now are hacked from them. Like the PBTA is from Apocalypse World, and the Forwards in the Dark and Blades in the Dark and stuff like that. We said that we are 0-4 on reading the origin games of games we like, because most of them are written terribly,
horrendously.
And it's not even that Black Hack is that bad. It's that, God, I wish I had looked at Black Hack before 2E, because I've said it over and over again. Like everyone like 1E, if it was just a zine with the rules, I would love the shit out of the rule system. The trying to make a solid rule system into a whole game failed. In my opinion, it didn't do well. Yeah, but Macchiato Monsters takes all the best parts, in my opinion, of Black Hack and all the best parts, in my opinion, of White Hack, and makes a really fantastic game that is communicated extremely well. And it's just good. And we're going to go over it. Prior to that, though, everyone out there, you got to get out and vote, right? Get out and vote. We gotta wreck the vote. What was it P Diddy?
Yes, vote or die.
Vote or die. Vote like P Diddy, but not really anything else.
Don't do anything else like P Diddy.
Yeah. So. But we're talking about the innies. We're actually talking about the innies. So
little rug pull there. You thought we were talking about politics. We're not.
No, we don't really talk about it on this show. Yeah.
We make offhanded comments here and there.
Yeah, ACAP. But
13-12.
If there's any question on who we're not voting for, you don't listen very well. But the innies are happening. The voting opened last night. We talked about it on the beginning of our White Hack episode. A bunch of our friends and previous guests we've had on the show are nominated. Space Penguin, Colin Lasore, Games Omnivorous, the Liminal Horror Crew, Black Oath. I mean, even like Watt, and then like small publisher and stuff. Like everyone we fucking know is on there, like Meat Castle and everybody too. So I encourage all of you to vote. Even if you don't vote for the people that we suggest, even though you absolutely should.
You should listen to us. We're right. So
yeah, we are correct. But regardless, go vote. Awards are what you make of them. So if you like something, go vote so that bad things don't get a lot of votes and win. Anyway, yeah, vote. We should do a whole like rock the vote, but like for TTRPGs thing with like the sticker rolls and everything. That'd be funny. Anyway, we're not gonna do that. We don't we're too lazy to even edit the podcast. You think we're actually gonna put effort into a fucking bit? No. Let's read this game. Macchiato Monsters, rules for adventurers in a dungeon verse you build together. A Lost Pages book, extra numero issue. So one thing about the Lost Pages is they number all their stuff. I don't have some of them. So I need to figure out how to find the ones that I don't have. But like Beyond the Pale, it says issue 14. So this was an extra numero issue from the Lost Pages, which is the publisher. They put out awesome stuff. Again, Chief Hackerista. So they really... Okay, so, all right. Macchiato Monsters. Let's get it out of the way early. Listen. I love this game so much. Eric Nieudan.
Same.
I love it so much. It's a terrible name.
It's a really bad name.
It's awful. I was telling a friend, I'm not going to say who they are, but this is like the second thing that I'm stealing from them with credit to Anonymous. I was talking about how much I love this game, and I said it was called Macchiato Monsters, and they said, I want to make sure I quote this correctly. That just sounds like some monster fucker rom-com novel. And then sent me this picture. And for those on the podcast land, just Google Legends and Lattes from Travis Baldair. And you will see exactly what I think when I think of Macchiato Monsters.
Yeah, very interesting choice in the name. I mean, this is a really good game, too.
It's a good game. Why don't we actually just scroll... Well, let's scroll ahead real quick, get this out of the way, and then we'll go back to the beginning. Cool. There's some stuff, whatever. But then we're going to skip to what inspired Macchiato Monsters. As the name suggests, parentheses, perhaps too subtly, yes, not perhaps, very much too subtly, Macchiato Monsters was originally cobbled together in 2015 as an adaptation of the Black Hack with classes and magic system from White Hack, both inspired by the original fantasy game D&D. In the years that followed, Macchiato Monsters became its own thing through playtesting, experimenting. Along the way, they drew from BX box sets, Moldvay, Marsh, and Cook, Into the Odd, Nanochrome. I don't know Nanochrome. I want to read it, though. It sounds... If it's inspired this game, then I want to read it. Maze Rats, obviously. I love Maze Rats. Yeah. And Don John and Che, which is another game I really want to check out. And it does use the LGL, or the OGL, which is in the back of the book. So I still didn't understand what this meant. So I talked to coffee people. Apparently a macchiato is just like coffee and like cream or milk.
Yeah, milk.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's black and white. A macchiato is black and white.
And coffee's brown, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, coffee's, I guess it's black when I drink it, but that is what Macchiato Monsters means, I guess. Macchiato is supposed to be a mix of black and white. What's interesting is actually in the original version of this game, in the Macchiato Monsters 0 version, the beginning of the game is actually different. I'll throw that up here real quick.
Do it.
And you'll see what I mean. Like, it said this for those in podcast land. Get out of here. Oh, whoa, there was like comments on the side of that. Interesting. It says Macchiato Monsters, the Black and White Hack 0 edition. Acrobat found comments in the PDF open in the comments pane. Do you wish to retain this behavior? Yes, I got to read those comments later. Apparently, I didn't even know. I had been reading some Dropbox.
You were just like,
they're not mine.
3 a.m.
They're the creators' comments. Yeah, no. Okay. Anyway, so back then they did call it the Black and White Hack. My God, I wish it was just called the Gray Hack. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. Like the thing. My response to that was like, yeah, it should be called the Gray Hack, like the Gray album, and it was like a picture of Jay-Z with the Beatles. It's like, this would be great. This could just be called the Gray Hack. But it's not. It's called Macchiato Monsters.
It could be called several other things.
But here's the thing. You know what they did after they committed to this name is they really committed throughout the rest of the book, because throughout the rest of the book, almost all of the pictures of like the monsters stuff are all coffee themed. So there's like a Lich drinking a cup of coffee. There's like coffee stains, like drips, and like where you put like your mug down all over the book.
Pretty funny. Yeah,
I gotta say,
fungus people with a French press or something at one point.
Yes, yes. So if they stuck with this name, that's a choice. But they stuck with it and they ran with it, and I can respect the hell out of that. And I love that they just said fuck it and really dug in and made all the graphic design coffee based. That's great. That's great. So anyway, Chief Hackerista, Eric Nieudan, Layout Espresso Lasagna, Printer Whispering, Paolo Greco. I just recently learned about the lasagna. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Editing for Moonrat Conspiracy, Fiona Maeve Geist. Moonrat is Fiona and Dirt, you know that. And then some people, including Eric Nieudan, Russ Nicholson, some other people, Luca Regic, and some stuff. Zero Edition 2016, First Edition 2018, Glasgow, Scotland. So I'll say off the bat, no digital tools. Nothing's hyperlinked. I don't think there are any bookmarks. Nope, nothing. I will say the original Zero.
I did notice that.
Yeah, the original Zero PDF is hyperlinked though on the table of contents, which is interesting because it came out like 3 years before this. But so that kind of sucks. I mean, you can get it right now POD, so I do have a copy POD. It is perfect bound. It could be a zine. It tops out at.
Just ignore it.
I always fucked that up. It tops out at 58 pages, so it absolutely could just be a zine, but it's drive through, so it's. I don't know if drive through even does zines. Do they just do everything perfect bound?
Oh, that's a really good question that I don't know the answer to.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I would love a real print of this. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Not POD. But regardless, table of contents, welcome to the Dungeonverse, core mechanics, making a character, gear, gold, blah, blah, this stuff. All the stuff. We're going to go over it. It's a relatively short book. A lot of it, I would say probably a third of it is like tables and and stuff, So really it comes down to maybe like 35-ish pages of like
tables
rules,
are pretty
maybe.
good in this one.
They're great.
Yeah.
That's the thing. All the way through, they're really great. And this is the example of like making a game out of a system that 2E should have followed, as opposed to, or I'm sorry, that Black Hack should have followed.
Yeah.
Because this one actually does it well. Which they don't. So anyway, getting into this. Welcome to the Dungeonverse. This is a game where adventures
in the dungeon. We got fun games.
You play in the Dungeonverse, which you build around the game. This game is one of the other reasons I love this game is because it does kind of lean into that old school gaming style in a very like emergent narrative kind of way. Like there's no storyteller. Like the world is built as you play, kind of, which I think White Hack wants to do. I don't know. I'm sure it told me in a very tell you anything about that game obtuse way. But it says old school gaming. What? WUT. That's the other thing I like about this too. There are a couple of times where they just like say some shit where they're just like talking like a person, and I'm like, thank you for just talking like a human being and talking to me like a human being, not like a fucking computer.
It's nice, but what though? So
yeah, but like it's like what?
Minus 5 points because that's not how you spell what.
Anyway, so in tabletop RPG, old school isn't about nostalgia; it's about gameplay. What does that mean? Rulings over rules, player intelligence, resource management, deadly fights, and embrace randomness. It's the classic kind of like Principia Apocrypha or whatever, I'm talking about, that like Ben Milton, et cetera, thing that came out. It's what OSR thinks that old school gaming played like. Don't forget, OSR is dead. But those are the like 5 concepts for it, and I love that. I do love that style of play. Rulings over rules basically says like the rule set is small. It's not going to hit every single outcome. So if that comes up, just make a decision and stick with it. That's the only thing that matters, is make a ruling and then just be consistent with it. Player intelligence means that you don't worry about what's up.
I was gonna say, no, sorry, it doesn't work for me. I need a whole other $60 hardback that's all full of specific rules and potentially optional rules. And we'll call it like the Game Master's Guide.
Yeah, something like that. Actually, I think one of the biggest problems with 5th edition, I'll throw this out, is that most people don't read the GM guide because there's actually a good game if you read the GM guide. But most people don't fucking read it. The The optional rules actually make the game better. Even though it still sucks. Advanced Macchiato Monsters. Yeah, we need that for all of the to hit every single option. Player intelligence. You don't worry about, you can play dumb and not have that affect like your ability to understand the intelligence of like actually playing the game. Resource management actually matters. You don't just get a bag of holding on session 2 for the rest of the campaign and not worry about stuff. Deadly fights, everything is low HP, and then embracing randomness. Shit happens, have fun with it, I do like this text convention section here. So for those that can't see, again, the podcast, there are, it says in this book, you is addressed to the player, and then box text like this. It's a gray box. Look at the formatting. Look at how it breaks up the solid whiteness of that page. It's really beautiful.
It's really great.
Yeah. Those gray boxes are addressed to the referee. Love that. Some boxes are marked with a dice blotch to denote optional rules. So there's a little blotch of ink on the paper, and then there's 2 dice inside one of the blotches. So if it's marked with that, it's talking about optional rules. Another is marked with a chat blotch to indicate a shared narration rule. So it literally looks like a little text message with like an ellipse in it. And then it says optional, also optional. These lighten the referee's effort by giving the players a little bit of control over the setting. And then the last one, the coffee beans blotch. So it's 3 coffee beans in a little ink blotch. This is to remind you of some of the important rules. I love that. I love these little indicators.
Yeah. Works really well. Very clean.
Yeah.
I also like that there's just like a little explainer up front. It's just like, hey, when you see these spots, look at them. This is what they're for. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for not making me guess. Giving me a little thing that says like, this is how you read the book. I made it easier for you here. Oh my God. Who would have thought? I went off about this to somebody the other day, and I was talking to Marco the other day, and I basically said like, when you're writing a rules text, when you're going to write are you doing like a rules text, like a data set, or is it an instruction manual, right? Is it a data set or is it an instruction manual, right? White Hack was not an instruction manual. It was a data set. It was just the rules stuck in a book with no intent to actually teach you how to use the game, right? If you're making a game, new job and the person training you is not a good trainer, they're just saying stuff to you, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll put these pieces together. Thanks.
Yeah. If you're gonna write a game that you want people to play, your game should be, a big chunk of it should be an instruction manual on how to play the game, because once someone's finished reading it, they should know how to play the game. I think this game does that incredibly well. I really enjoy the way that they
I agree.
Give you these little splotches, that they do examples of play really, really well. They specifically, anytime I had a question, it was less than a page later that I would get an example of play or like a clarification. And we'll see that as we come up. What inspired Macchiato Monsters? We talked about that already. So jumping straight into the core mechanics, the stat check. D20, roll under or equal to one of your stats chosen by the referee.
Perfect.
There are crits and there are fumbles, 1s and 20s. And they double the effect or bring a consequence or side effect into play. Boom, that's a game. D20 equal or roll under. Great.
Amazingly concise. It's almost like,
Yeah, it's almost like it's so easy. Advantage and disadvantage. Guess what? You roll twice and you take the best or worst result. Not highest or lowest, because it depends on what you're doing. It's just the best or worst result for you. There's already a little splotch here.
Positive doubles and negative doubles better, Also, I swear I'll stop going on a White Hack eventually.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, we still go in on fucking Blades in the Dark and shit, so I don't give a fuck. We'll call back for forever. We'll just bitch about shit enough that people will actually go back and watch those episodes just so they know what we're talking about.
For me is that if someone was like, hey, do you want to play White Hack? I'd be like, yeah, I'll play White Hack. And someone's like, hey, do you want to play Blades in the Dark? I'm like, nah, I think I'm okay.
Absolutely not. I completely agree with that 100%. We actually had a comment on YouTube where someone was like, oh man, like I wish you would have played this one first. And I was like, honestly, if I know anyone that would actually run this, I would love to play it.
Totally. Yeah, I would play it.
Yeah, but in the episode, we stated multiple times that I will not put in the work required to run that game, because I would have to rewrite the entire thing just so I could understand it, and I'm not going to do that. I just don't want to. So yeah, but if anyone out there that is mutual wants to run a game of White Hack, I did talk to somebody who is a big Blades fan and told them that we should play Blades at least once. Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Elliott. Michael Elliott's a huge.
Oh
Blades
yeah.
of the Dark fan.
Oh cool. Yeah, I definitely play with Michael Elliott. That'd be cool.
Here's the thing. Even if I hate Blades of the Dark, which I don't, I just don't enjoy the way that it's written.
Yeah.
I would. I'm saying if I hit it with my whole being, I would still play it if Michael Elliott was going to GM us in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A quick side note: Michael Elliott has a cyborg project up on Kickstarter right now. Go check it out. It's called the 55. Seems great. Back anything from Michael Elliott. Can't wait to get fealty in hand. Anyway, so
core mechanics.
Yeah, so we're already hitting a text bubble here. It says free advantage once per session. If a player can describe a place, an NPC, or a setting element that would explain why they have a better chance of doing something, they can roll with advantage on any check.
Great rule. I like the moment I read this, I was like, that's a fun narrative. I like the it's like collaboratively constructing like a game world. And I've thought about that before and like how to incentivize that. And this is a great little one. It's like, yeah, just one state you can just get advantage. Just tell me about a detail about you, someone you know that gives you advantage. Super clean.
Yeah. This is, I mean, so this pulls from White Hack still too, like, you know, because it's kind of like an extremely simplified version of like taking like one of your groups, like your association or something, and putting it next to your stat. And you get that all the time, but this is kind of like a very narrative way of just getting it once, which I think is dope. But like you said, the collaborative storytelling, if you go back again, it literally says right at the top, what is this game? It's a game where you're building the dungeon verse like as you play. So having this collaborative thing be like, oh, let me throw that in. That's great. I love that. Like you said, getting to the risk dice. So this is definitely Black Hack coming in. I love this page that is very clearly White Hack and Black Hack like on one page, which is fun. So risk dice are usage die. That's what they are.
Usage die. These are interesting.
I know
though.
You do.
So, regular usage die, right? You it is a way to like count down like dwindle a threat, I think is what or dwindling resources represents a threat. And basically you start with a die size. For this game, it'll be, 12, 10, 8, 6, or 4. You roll the dice, and every time you hit a 1, 2, or 3, the die size goes down to the next size down, representing the threat dwindling or your resources running out. It's a great way to track different things. I use it for like fire damage a lot in my games, because fire slowly goes out. But the interesting thing here, and this is only interesting to me because I like usage die, maybe to you, listener, but most usage die go down a size on a 1 or a 2. This one goes down a size on a 1, 2, or 3. And let me tell you, when you are rolling a D6 usage die, you are going to hit a 1, a 2, or a 3 at least 50% of the time. I wonder why they added the one extra one. I guess maybe in playtesting, the just 1 and 2 wasn't enough. Oh, I don't know. I roll crap on my usage die, I feel like, every time. So I feel like I'm always every other step, like turn going down a step.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I don't know if, I think in a lot of games, a lot of usage die really lean onto 6s. That like sometimes you'll get an 8, maybe like you'll peak at 10. But I feel like in this game, as we go through, a lot of stuff is at like 10s and 12s.
It's a bigger, did notice that. It's like, there are a couple 12s in a couple of the examples. Yeah, I think you're right. I think in like a lot of them too, that I've read, like 12 isn't even offered as an option. It is like 10, 8, 6, 4. Yeah.
So but
I love usage time. So
yeah, here's the thing. It's one of those things where I really love it theoretically.
Yeah.
And it's different than like the stack and troika, where I think that's a genius mechanic in theory, but like I don't want to fucking play that. I just don't really ever find myself in a situation where like I felt like I needed to use usage die in a way like that. But I recently did start thinking about maybe this game made me think again about like maybe I do want to just use usage die for arrows. I don't know. It's
just such an easy thing to throw in and not think about. Oh, someone like that was the really fire damage is always the one I used because it was the first time it ever, like we were in an adventure, we were playing like Bastards or something, and there is no rule for fire damage, obviously, because there's almost no rules of Bastards. And I was like, yeah, you here D6 usage die. You're like on fire right now. You need to put that shit out. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, anytime I think of usage die, I like just having the inventory system for a thing that like doesn't really like. To me, the perfect type of usage die is arrows.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing.
You don't count arrows?
What's up? I fucking hate counting
You don't
arrows.
want to count all your arrows?
It depends. I mean, the thing is, it depends, right? Like it depends. That's the problem too. Like if you're deep down in a dungeon, right, and you only went in with 5 arrows, yeah, I'd make you count every fucking one. And if you want to retrieve them, I'd make you roll for every one to see if it breaks, because that matters, right? But when you have something that like kind of matters, like it does matter. You don't have 800 arrows. Right. But do I care whether you have 20 or 30? I fucking don't. So if you have the usage die, like it doesn't, like you'll get somewhere between 20 and 30, right? So who cares?
Unless I'm rolling your usage die, because I never get. One game has like a table that says like, I can't remember which game it was, but it says how much each like level of die should give you, and I never fucking did that. But
I mathed it out once, and I think if you started at D20, you end up with like, I don't know, it's like 30 something potential, like on average or something like that. So it gets up there. Anyway, so that's usage die. There's a little coffee bean bubble here. I can't remember what the coffee bean meant again.
You actually explained it earlier, so let me scroll up and see.
I scrolled it back. Yeah. Remind you of the rules. Okay, yeah. Right. So this is a little reminder about the risk die. It basically says that using a 1 to 3 means, usually a 1 to 3 means an escalation of the risk, and the maximum number is a lucky break. So you can assume a 3 is better than 2, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, yeah. So, but again, on one page, there's 2 referee instruction parts on here, which is 2 more than the entirety of White Hack. Anyway, so making a character, we love a numbered list.
We love a numbered list, you know?
Numbered list. So there's 7 numbers here. First, roll 3d6 in order, and normal stats: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dex, con, charisma. Standard.
No,
Swap
we should
2 if you
explain
like.
all the stats to the listeners.
Standard. Oh, well, there's a whole page on that. But we're not going to. Well, we'll get there.
I didn't read that page.
Number 2, of course you didn't, because you know what strength means. Invent a trait. For example, a race, occupation, background, or faction. I like that. I will say, with all of the references to other pages on this page, where it talks about go to page 7, go to page 31, go to page this, whatever, there is a page that talks about traits, but it's not listed here. But there is one.
What page is it? Yeah, I know there is one.
Literally page 6.
Yeah,
so it's literally like 2 pages away from this. So that's the only thing I noticed, is that there is a page, but like it doesn't say like parentheses page 6.
No, it's not hyperlinked anyway. So
yeah, but there is, and that's one thing it says invent a trait. And the thing that I like about this is it gives you focus without giving you the answers. You know what I mean? Like it tells you how to build a trait, but it doesn't give you a list of traits. Like, for example, like I'm fine with white hacking. You have to pick a vocation or an association or this. You get one of these 3. This one lets you do whatever you want, but narrows it down to give you an idea of what they should be, which I really enjoy. We'll get to that. That's number 2. Number 3, record your hit dice. It's a D6. You will roll it for hit points, and it also limits martial prowess. We'll get to that. Choose 2 below or the same entry twice. This is part of character creation. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 options. So you can add a D6 to a stat that is less than 10. That's 10 or less. You can write down a second trait. You can gain a hit die of the same type you already have. So you can start with 2 hit dice instead of 1. You can take martial training, which means you step up your hit die or dice, which means you don't start with a D6, you start with a D8. You have specialistic training, which means you come up with a daily ability, which it does explain that too. And then there's magic training, where you come up with 2 spells. Also has pages listed where you'll find that. Wish it was hyperlinked. That'll be affected in the scores. Number 5, you roll your hit die or dice for your current HP. You can decide to permanently spend 1 point of con to roll again, and you can add 1 of your HP if you don't roll better. So you still get something for sacking a point of con.
Yeah, burn some con now.
I love that. It's all so easy, you know? And then number 6, roll for your known languages, blah, blah, blah. It's on there. Number 7, roll for your equipment. We'll get to that. And then there's another dice thing here, another blotch. You can always let players who have no idea for their character roll equipment first, so that then they'll get inspiration. Love that. Good.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah. And then if you want to play 0 level characters, you skip step 4 and only roll D4, D6, or D8 on the equipment table. So basically, you don't get any of the advancement stuff, and then you can just start at 0 level, which, again, a very clean, easy way to alter the game in a way that you want.
Making the character I think one thing that stood out to me about the choose two below, add a d6 to a stat that's less than 10. I don't know of a time I've seen that rule, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm sure in
Of course it's somewhere. I might
in
have
the
even
list
read it
of
before,
all those 6, and maybe even from like the old BX stuff. That's the thing with old BX stuff is like there's like 3 different versions of it, and I never remember which one's in which. You know what I mean? Like mold. Is it mold bay? Is it like blue home? Like what? Like homes? Like what? Like what are you doing here? There's a cool picture here. I will say this game is not hurting for art. I do really enjoy that they
like
fill.
it. The art looks good.
Yeah. There's a griffin that is sipping coffee out of a what is that? I think that's a thing that's much more popular in Europe. It's
Isn't that like a percolator or
is it time for that?
what? Stop. It's time for that.
Oh. Anyway, so anyone listening, I don't know what that thing is called. It's a metal thing. The top
so
is smaller than the bottom.
Now.
I know a lot of I don't want to stereotype people, but I know a lot of people that are Italian that use that specific type of coffee maker. But I don't know what it's called. Anyway, so your stats in Hand of Fate, random stats are a staple of old school gaming, etc., etc. You don't dream up the perfect hero or work out the best combo. That's why it's random. You take what fate gives you and you come up with a character who has a long way to go in order to become a hero. If they survive, you get the 6 historic stats, right? You know what all these are: strength, int, whiz, dex, con, charisma. You know what these are. There's nothing crazy or different about these at all. But I do like the way that they explain it, because they tell you about it. They tell you what a low is like, they tell you what a high is like, and then give you a list of examples of the kind of characters that you'd play, like priest, cleric, shaman, scout. Love that. That's a really good way of explaining it. We're not going to read it, but they're really good. Hit points are your primary resource of a character. Losing them means being in danger of dying, which we'll get to with wounds and stuff like that. Your hit points represent your character's health, endurance, and ability to avoid getting seriously hurt. So this is a style of game where HP, your hit points, and most games are like this, but people don't take this way. It doesn't mean you have an open wound. It's an abstraction of your overall general health and endurance. And I like that. And then here are the fungus people you talked about.
It's my favorite.
Drinking out of it's so good. Drinking out of French press, like the little grumpy guy is holding the French press, and like the bigger guy's like smiling, holding this like fancy mug. It's a great piece. I picture this as like the husband and wife, and this is like her dress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Little grumpy husband.
Yeah. As one would be. So, traits and your character. This is what I talked about before. Traits form the concept of your character: origins, factions, occupations, etc. There's 4 kind of bullet points here, and I like
how these are divided up. Yeah, a lot.
I love them so much.
So it's what your character is, what your character does, what your character belongs to, or where your character comes from. So like that is what your character is like maybe like a species or race. What your character does is like a job, occupation, or trade. Where your character belongs to is like a group or organization, and where your character comes from is obviously like the city, forest, the mountain home, and these help form your like. It's a really great way to divide up the mentality of what the trait is and what it kind of does for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is pulled from White Hack, but I like this even because this is obviously a part of White Hack that I did understand.
Yes,
and I did like,
and it was good.
I think I like this even more. Like I just think that allowing a little bit of an abstraction to it, and setting it more into like a kind of a normal language, I think really helps kind of like both open and focus it a little bit in a way that I find like very enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think I think there is a more linear nature to how this is explained, and not even in like the. Yeah, I think that's how.
Do you see those bullet points? I mean, that's enough right there to get you over. Yeah, no, they're great. I love these as traits. They're fantastic. And it makes it so easy because even just listed here, even if you just go with the first ones listed here. So you're a dwarf trader in, the in a guild in the city. Boom. Boom. But you just pick one and then you can get more traits later. And what I think love
that's
about
also
that,
what works better for me for this is that in White Hack, there's so many different things that you're picking as you make your character that you're attaching to stats. And this is like, no, you're gonna start with one thing right now.
Mhm.
I'm like, perfect.
Well, the thing that I really love about this too is that, like, narratively, again, this is still going back to the core concept of the game, which is like you're building the dungeon as you go. And specifically when it talks about the character stats, I know we kind of jumped over it a little bit, but it specifically says you are the reason we make you roll stats in order is to challenge the way that you're playing the game. You don't get to min-max your character. You see what your stats are and make a character using those stats, which is like a great way to do it. I know it's not like the 5e OC generator style that a lot of people fucking love, but you play the random game, and you, as you get new traits, so you say your first trait is dwarf, you're just a dwarf, but your next trait might be traitor. Explain to me narratively how you suddenly have a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to build in how that happened. So, like, it might be like after downtime, you're like, well, I spent my downtime, like, working in this place. I learned how to do this. This is my job now. I love that there's a built-in narrative every time I take a new trait. Because say your next trait, you pick an association and you pick a trader's guild. That makes fucking perfect sense because, like, you are a trader. So picking the next trait is great. Love it. Okay, so referee will have questions about your traits. Make sure everyone's on the same page. I love that. Whenever you make a check where one of your traits is relevant, you get advantage. Boom. Easy fucking peasy. A trait can also allow you to roll for actions and another character wouldn't be able to attempt, such as climbing vertical walls and stuff if you're whatever, vertical walls. But note that they're never useful in combat. This is really important. I wish this was bolded. They're never useful in combat. Traits are specifically a non-combat thing, and they're all, because there are things that do help you in combat. And then I do also love where it says sometimes the referee may give you disadvantage because of a trait. So it says if you're a known thief negotiating with the Brotherhood of Written Law, for instance, or a half ogre trying to disappear into a crowd. How that paragraph is the same thing as that, like, color paragraph with, like, the double-edged thing in White Hack, written in 2 sentences in a way that's 10 times easier to understand. We're gonna be shit on White Hack for a while. Like, anyway, not shitting on it. It's the way that it's written. Okay, so martialist training and specialist training, these are the things that you can get in the beginning that actually can help you in combat, and that's why your traits don't. It's to really separate the narrative aspects of play versus, like, the combat aspects of play, which obviously still have narrative elements, but, like, it allows you to build a character that's not necessarily just built to murder shit, you know, which I love. Obviously I love murdering shit too, but, like, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
So martial training, yeah, each time you take combat training, which is the thing that you get with, like, advancement and stuff like that, you step up all of your hit dice. So you go from, like, a D6 to a D8 to a maximum of a D10, and then you re-roll all your hit points with those new dice. And combat training also gives your character the ability to wield better weapons and more efficient armor. So whenever you have, like, a weapon or an armor that is, if it's a risk die higher than your hit die, you get disadvantage on using it, which is so clean.
Very clean way to, like, track that, like, you know, instead of, I'm thinking of more trad games like, oh yeah, you're proficient in this weapon. This is like a way cleaner way that you almost don't even have to think about it, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing with the martial too is, like, you are, like, in a very, very clean way, you are the fighter. You're getting more HP because you're going to be on the front line, while at the same time having a wider array of weapons to use and heavier or more complex armor that you can use, all within one thing that is just increasing a die from a D6 to a D8. It's Brilliant. So clean, and narratively it makes sense. So I really enjoy that. And then specialist training is a thing where you can pick a specialist ability. So a specialist ability reflects a character's unique trait. It works once a day at level 1, but you'll have the option to get more uses as you level up, right? Unless it's a really impressive feat, like something that mortals can't do, an ability does not require a check. So, like, if you have this, you just get to do it. So you talk with the referee to establish what it does, especially if there's a mechanical advantage or if it breaks a rule in some way. So some ideas is having a faithful pet, resisting pain, dual wielding, detecting a lie, stuff like that. So it's basically like you pick a feat is what this is, or like a pet or something like that. That's about it. And it specifically says, like, you can theoretically do a spell-like ability, but you could also just take magic training, which was another option. So just do that.
An ability, magic training.
Yeah. An ability is the only safe way to get advantage on combat checks, and it has to reflect one of your character traits, though. You can't just randomly pick some shit. So the example is an assassin with blade in the liver can backstab a guard if undetected, or a duelist can feint and can trick a sentient adversary when crossing swords. Great examples.
I love
There
the
is
blurb here.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's just like you can allow a character with their specialist training to, instead of doing advantage, you can do double damage, which I feel like in some situations I'd be like, yeah, my guy just hits like a fucking freight train.
Yeah. Well, that's white hack. That's the base deft, one of the base deft abilities where you could always change your double positive roll for double damage.
Oh yeah, double positive. Right. All right.
That's why, or positive double roll, whatever the fuck it was called. You could change your
advantage.
advantage
I think
for
it was
double
double positive.
Yeah.
I'm just like still like, I couldn't think. I get they didn't want to use advantage, but come on.
Yeah, but these are the kind of things that like make a good hack, right? Like they took a mechanic that they enjoyed, inserted it back into a different way to give you basically the same result, but in a way specific to this game and the style that they wanted to use. Like, such a good hack. This is one of my favorite hacks. It's right up there with I don't know what my brain is breaking. What was that Fallout
Nuked.
hack that we did? Nuked. Oh, such a good game.
That is actually a really good one. Yeah, you're right.
It's such a good game. It's just the way in which they hack it to make it their own thing, as opposed to just like copy pasting the mechanic. And that's the thing I love most about hacks, is when you can really take a thing, make it your own thing, but still know where it came from. Anyway, so magic training, spells are described in a few words. You come up with them as you go. We'll get to that on magic stuff later, but you can change that. Languages, your character speaks some. Boom, you get it. Sometimes you get more, whatever. Random starting equipment. So a character starts with random stuff, including armor and weapons. You roll a d20, a d12, a d10, a d8, a d6, and a d4, the entire fistful, on the following 9 tables. You have to decide a table and a die before you roll, but you can ignore tables or roll several dice on the same one. The referee might decide that magical trinkets, heirlooms, or faith tables are not available, and beginning adventurers often have to make do with the equipment they could gather from a former life, making up a reason for stuff, blah, 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 blah. So basically, you get one of all your fucking dice, and there's 9 tables, and before you roll them, you have to assign which dice to what table you want. It doesn't matter. You don't have to roll on every table. You can roll all of your dice on one table if you want, but assign them, roll them, and that's what you get. Great. And using that as the start of your character creation would be fucking hysterical in a good way.
I love character creation by way of equipment picking. Or this one, equipment generation.
Yeah, love it. It's great. So why don't you bring up a dice roller
I'd love to.
and roll all of them. I can use my dice roller.
Oh wow, you're so cool.
I'm cool. This is great. You know, it's awesome.
Okay, so I need to roll a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20.
Yep. And then roll and then as you pick a result, just pick a table or just go all the tables straight down.
Let's just we'll start with equipment and food.
So you'll skip 3. You're allowed to skip 3.
There's 3 that we're not gonna do. So we'll do equipment and food. Let's say I rolled a 3. I have a jar of snail soup. That is a risk die of 6 or usage die. An old ox, a rolled up carpet, 2 sacks, and a crowbar.
Dope.
There's a body in that carpet.
Always is.
Yeah. The food sounds pretty good on some of these that I was reading and I was like, kind of hungry. I liked 19 sealed meats, scroll maker's tools, a wizard hat, spyglass, and magic reagents.
Wait a minute. You liked the one that specifically is designed for a wizard?
I did. Listen, crazy. If you're listening to this and you don't realize that, like, I love being a little wizard or sorcery boy.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You're the wizard boy. I'm the edgelord douchebag, and that's us.
Yeah, magic is cool.
If anyone out there ever does like fan art of us, just think that, right?
Yeah.
You're wizard boy, and I'm edgelord douchebag. So what's next? What are you doing next?
We're gonna skip wealth and valuables. That'll be the one that we skip,
just like real life. So there's a nice coffee stain on the bottom of this one, which I really love. Keep your vibes
sitting down. Yeah.
All right. What's next?
And we'll do melee weapons.
Dope.
And we'll say that was the D12, and I rolled an 11, which is a Dane axe or a flail.
Dope.
That is D8/D8. It's a 2-handed weapon. Grants the wielder advantage to damage, which is Pretty cool.
Oh, dude, Danaxes are dope.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's next?
Armor. Let's use my D6. I rolled a 3. I have hide tunic and fur hat, just like in real life. If you're not watching,
you're really picking out a character here with the Danax and then like the fur hat
I'm going
and stuff.
full Viking.
Yeah. And you have an ox. Or there are
I have an ox.
Close enough. All right, what's next?
We're going. I want to do the last 3 tables because I think they're some of the best. So we're gonna skip missile weapons. My guy's not much of a missile weapon person. Magic trinkets. Let's say. Oh, I'm cheating. Look at all the dice I have, which I'm not supposed to do, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Oh well.
We're going to go ahead and use the D8. I rolled a 7. I have a pouch of the Oracle's incense.
Dope. But that's an apostrophe S, like a Reese's piece.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Oracle's.
Yeah, it's the Oracle's incense, just like it's Reese's piece.
They gave it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to heirlooms and heritage. I will go ahead and use my D10 for this one. I rolled a 6. Mom's sword. It has a name, a story, and maybe a minor magic power. That's a really cool one.
Yeah. Well, because is it your mom or is it somebody else's mom?
I think it's mine.
Okay.
I always think like a great minor magic effect that we all know from the most popular fantasy novel in the world is from Lord of the Rings. Sting glows blue when around orcs, which is a minor magic effect. That's a really great example of how to do minor magic very, very well.
So it's mom's sword, so it glows when you're trying to sneak into the kitchen late at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. When trying to steal from the cookie jar. And I believe this is our last table, which is faith.
Yep.
And I rolled a 15. I saved a high one for this. The faith, the material plane is a mere illusion. Sinners embrace the void vibrant. Sounds pretty cool.
Ooh, that does some dope. There's a blotch here. Random availability. You can equip NPCs and stock shops at these random tables. The richer the person in an area, the higher the die you roll. Dope. Great.
Easy.
That's the thing. That's the thing about all of these tables is they're all D20s. There's 9 of them, and anything that you need. Like you have an NPC and they happen to be religious. What kind of religion? Who knows? Roll D20. They believe in Mother Nature, man.
Yeah.
That's what it says. I also I don't know if you notice this, but like as we get closer to magic and stuff like that, there's these random little chaos written just like randomly all through the book. Love that.
On the chaos page, it literally just says chaos.
Yeah. Well, this is right next to the one that says I believe in chaos, but like half of them are upside down and shit.
Really small.
Yeah.
It's like chaos.
Yeah. So that's great. So gear and gold, it exists, but they're tables. So you'll get like melee weapons. It might say like dagger, knife, blackjack. And then there's missile weapons, and then there's a damage. So it's like they're kind of paired off with what the damage is comparatively. So like a dagger and a dart have the same damage, and then a great sword and a musket or heavy crossbow have the same damage, which is like a D10. And then there's the thing here: 2-handed melee weapons give advantage to damage. There's armor listed. There's D4, D6, D8, D10, which is just like a helmet, gambeson, hide leather, etc., etc. Goes all the way up to full plate. Sometimes they can be combined with different armor, which is stepped up one category to a maximum of Delta 10, and that's specifically the leather. And then there's a bunch of just random items: arrows, coffee beans, of course, bottle of booze, powder, and then there's a usage die that goes with each one. Wealth and coin bags. We're not going to go over this. It's fine. It exists.
I think this is okay though. I think that like wealth is risk die based, and like what like level of coin that you have, it says what kind of goods you can buy with it, and I think it's a very clean and easy way to like deal with money.
Well, because you don't have to actually keep. You don't have to actually keep anything like a number, right? So like so we'll go over it. So wealth and coin bags, and then splitting, merging, and explaining bags, and buying, selling. So basically, as what Hunter said, if something costs gold, you can just hand in a Delta 4 of gold, and you'll get gold or whatever. But if you have a Delta 4 gold and a Delta 4 gold, right? I'm just going to read this because the math broke my brain. You are limited in the number of items you can carry, so combining bags is often a good idea. You can merge 2 bags of the same metal and value to get a bag of the next type. So, for example, 2 purses of gold delta 4 become a pouch of gold delta 6. Similarly, split a bag in 2 by stepping down the die. A chest of silver, delta 12, becomes 2 bags of silver, delta 10. Right? So if you're combining the same type, you up the dice. You can merge 2 bags of the same metal to get a bag of the new type. I don't see but the sentence above I think is a mistake. Merging 2 bags of the same metal and value get a bag of the next type. And then it tells you that you're just upping the dice. So I think that's specific. I think that is supposed to say ups your dice.
Yes, I agree. Yes. I see where you're yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's my brain broke with that. A bag of coin D12 can be exchanged for delta 4 of the next higher coin. So a character can also buy a bag of a lower denomination. This is you. So basically what it's saying is that like if you have a D4 gold and a D4 gold, you can put them together, you get a D6 gold. And then if you have a D6 gold and a D6 gold, you put that together to a D8. And then you can do that to a D10. You can do that to a D12. But if you have a bag of D12 gold, you can bump that up to a D4 next after gold, and that's platinum. So it goes copper, silver, electrum, gold, platinum, lithium, right? So if you're at the highest die of a coin type, you can trade that in for the lowest type of the next coin type up. And why would you do that? Because you might have delta 12 gold, but there might be a plate of armor, or there might be armor plate that you want that's electrum. So you're trading up for whatever, you know what I mean? Electrum to gold, gold for whatever.
Yeah, because you have to have that level of coin, and then you roll your risk die essentially to buy it.
Yes.
And you roll 1, 2, or 3, it goes down a size.
Yep. So that's how you track all your stuff, is basically.
I like this. I thought it was cool.
You don't have to. It's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I don't know if it really. I don't know. I think it's interesting in a way that's mechanically interesting, but
yes,
I don't know if it helps simplify anything, because if something costs 50 gold and I have 50 gold, I can just give them 50 gold. You know what I mean?
But then you can get to roll dice. We're only here for rolling dice, dude.
Yeah, right.
That's the whole point of the thing. Yeah.
So buying and selling, you do it. Encumbrance is the thing that happens. Your hero can carry 1 item per point of con, whatever the size and weight of the item. And it literally says, don't start arguing with the referee about this. You might end up losing all your equipment in a swamp. I love the little asides about that. Armor doesn't count. If you're rolling encumbered, you can carry a number of items equal to your strength plus your con. But when you're encumbered, you get disadvantage on anything that would matter when you're encumbered. So running and shit. Cool page here of a Sphinx drinking a coffee with their name spelled wrong on it. Did you notice that?
I didn't even. Oh,
yeah. So they're drinking coffee and they're speaking in hieroglyphics, and then the name is written on the cup, but it's Sphinx, but it's spelled PHSFINX. That's hysterical to me. I love that. It's hysterical. There's a whole nother list here. This is like lodging, like weapon, armor, equipment, lodging, all sorts of stuff, like based on like basically like what you can get for the different things. So at CP level weapon armor, it's like peasant weapons and leather armor. Equipment is like consumables and Delta 4 reagents, things like that. But all the way down to Mythium, you can get unique artifacts and you stay in a palace for a week, and like, you know, everything has a price and you can pay it. So like, I really like this kind of like, if you're not going to give exact numbers, you can just give like, this is kind of what CP will buy you. This is kind of what GP will buy you. I think this is a great table. Experience and goals. I love this. I really enjoy this. So basically, you level up when you reach a number of goals. Each goal is defined by players and referee together, such as like clearing a goblin nest or rescuing a lost knight. So like when you start an adventure, you set goals, and you have to complete a number of goals equal to the level you want to get to. So if you're at level 3 and you want to get to level 4, you have to complete 4 goals, and then you'll level up to 4. Then you have to complete 5 goals to level up to 5. It's basically like a way to do level stone miling in a like kind of non-level stony way. Like there's a specific number for it, but you're not counting XP. I guess it's like 1 XP point. Like it's kind of like an abstract way to just count XP points.
What kind of leveling?
Milestone?
That's not what you've been saying.
What did I say?
You've been saying
I said that word one time.
Stone. No, you said it twice.
Said it. Oh, regardless, milestone. So I do like the character goal thing. It says you can allow players to pick their own goal, but only one at a time. And only one of those can be, only one goal can be reached during a given session. So if you're going for a character goal, you're all going for a character goal. But that will like help define your character a little bit more. So basically, if you want to take a side quest for one of your characters, you'll all get a goal, but it will be specifically to that character to further their narrative and character growth and stuff, which I think is really neat.
I think it's really cool. It almost a little bit in a way, and I might be reaching, but this is just how it tickles my brain. It kind of reminds me of boasting in Wolves Upon the Coast. You know, you like boast that you're going to do a thing. Essentially, you do set a goal and you do get like to increase your health or attack bonus based on that. I really like that kind of thing. You know, it's very narrative. Yeah. It gives you a tangible benefit. It feels cool.
Yeah. I completely agree. I like how all of this gives you like kind of like a concrete format in an abstract way.
Yeah.
Like do a goal, like it's whatever, but like you need to do 4 of them. And I like that, as opposed to being like, you need 600,000 XP.
Yeah. I just hate counting XP.
Anyway, so leveling up, every time you level up, you choose 2 of these. And unlike a character creation, you can only pick each one once. And there's 5 of them. So you can add 1 point to a stat of your choice to a max of 18. You can gain 1 hit die. And then you roll your hit dice and record your new total. If the new roll doesn't improve your hit points, you just add 1 to the total. I like the consistency. It's the same as when you did con before. You can spend a con point to roll again, keeping the best result. Same as before. Or you can research a new spell if you have magic training. You can gain 1 melee attack or missile attack, but you must have martial training. And you can gain a new ability once a day and an extra daily use for an existing one, which is your specialist training. So basically, it's ways to make your HP or stats better, and then 1 way to do magic training, martial training, or specialist training. So it's very similar to character creation, but you get to do a little bit more. At levels 4, 7, and 10, you can also take another trait or choose a new training. So that's how, if you don't start with something like magic training, once you hit 4, you could take magic training. Well, no, that's like picking like the who, what, where you were and stuff like that. So, next up is another picture of that coffee maker thing that I don't remember what it's called. But it's like a mecha, like golem kind of version one on like.
It's a percolator. I told you what it's called.
Is it a percolator? I don't
Google it. Look up images right now. Tell me I'm fucking wrong.
Percolator. You're fucking wrong. I don't see anything that looks like that. I'm just saying, I don't see anything that looks like that. I see a lot of kettle looking things. I think you're wrong.
Get in the comments, guys.
Get in the comments. All right, Brennan. So anyway, this thing's got legs. It's like a mech coffee maker. I love it. It's great. So monsters and followers. This is interesting. So creatures and other hostiles. Everything in the game is a monster. It doesn't matter if it's a good guy or a bad guy. It's fine. If it ain't you, it's a monster. Great. Easy peasy. It's called a mocha pot. Thank you. Boom. Not a percolator.
Thank
you, Christian. Mocha pot. I knew it was something like that. Go into the Google images. Yep, there it is. Mocha pot. So for all you that have been listening, it's a mech mocha pot. It's a mecha mocha. It's used on a stovetop like a percolator though. So he sees there you go. You were partially right. We'll give you partial credit. You got a partial success. Mixed successful even. So So it talks about monsters. If converting from other games, hit dice are D8s. They have an armor class. There's damage. You just port it over. If the monsters have magic, just use it. It's fine. It works. It's not hard. The game is still designed in a way that allows BX and stuff to use it. There's a reaction table. Monsters should always be doing something. If you want, there is an encounter, goal, or activity table. Why don't you roll me a d12 real quick? So you can check Cha
absolutely.
to decide if a monster is immediately aggressive, cautious, or open to the parlay. What'd you get?
I rolled, sorry, it froze. So I rolled 3 times. I rolled a 4.
So
it's raiding settlements or ambushing a traveler.
boom, there you go.
I can read.
And there's you do. There's a cute little coffee colored dragon drinking coffee. As they do.
I do like the theme is so consistent in this, like that they really do lean into the, you know,
they really said, I went with macchiato, so I'm fucking going with macchiato.
I will say, like, when we started reading this, or when I started reading this last night, I liked the name more the more of the art that I saw, because I'm like, okay, at least they carried the theme all the way through.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think I would prefer a different name, but as we said in the beginning, they went with it and they went with it hard, and I can respect that. So still with the monsters, there's a section on like what do they want. There's motivations for NPCs and stuff. We don't need to go through all this. There's morale. There's a D12 table for NPC motivation, a D12 table for morale. There's a section here on giving chase and running away, which is interesting. It's basically like dex checks and whatnot. Sometimes you might like drop weapons or loot and stuff like that, or roll with disadvantage to get away. Very interesting. I really love all that. We don't need to go through all of it specifically to you. If you've chased before, it's basically that. Followers or hirelings, the same name for the same thing. You can have them, which is really interesting. And they really can come into combat because of the way the disadvantage and stuff work with the risk die. So a follower can carry 5 items, 10 if they're willing to be encumbered. A hireling has a risk die that represents their skill and loyalty. Villagers are D6s, but professionals can be 8, 10, or 12. Double payment or strong incentives can increase the die type, which is great. You can pay them to be better at their job, which... pay me and I'll better my fucking job. Yeah.
I know. I tell my boss that every day, and he's like, "I'll fire you."
Yeah. I get paid enough to do what I do. Whenever a hireling is hurt, does something dangerous, or is otherwise in grave danger, you roll their die. If it's a fail, they run and shit. There you go. There are D12. There are 12 different types of hirelings. D12's in a city, D4's in the middle of nowhere. I think that's really interesting because D4 1 through 4 is torchbearer, halberdier, scout, and hedge wizard. We don't need to go into what they are. You get that. But each one also has an ability. So torchbearer, the number of extra items they can carry, and then the halberdier, additional damage. So that's what their risk die is for. So, but beyond that, you have halfling, chaplain, elf, bodyguard, dwarf, surgeon, burglar, and bard. Each one with different abilities and stuff. Really interesting, really fun. Again, they all get their own risk die. It's a good time. A hireling who dies, fizzles, quits, or flees. Anyway, so hiring followers, follower wages range from daily pay to equipment to lump sums. But you can get a free follower if it's your first session and politics aren't going to be very prominent. Every character who chooses an organization or faction as a trait gets a follower to start the game.
Ooh.
They can be any type you want or even a pet. I love that. I think that's so fun. Like, if the one trait you want to start with is an organization, like, I'm going to be a mason. Great, you get occultist. You know what I mean? Like, go. I think that's really interesting. That's really neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exploring the world. This is a weird spot to put this. I'll say this is my only real big critique of the entire game is we go through the entire multi-page exploring the world section as we're getting through, like, character creation and stuff like that, and then you hit combat.
Yeah, but it's like combat's next, and then after that is like magic and stuff. It does feel like this is it's wounds and death and magic, but it does feel like this is like 10, 15 pages too early, you know?
And I get it because it is still mechanics, because it's the way that you are adventuring.
Yeah.
Right? But if there's like tables at the end on how to like build an adventure and stuff like that, I would rather the rules. It is still a dungeon game. You're still gonna murder shit, so give me murder sooner, you know?
Yeah.
I think combat and death and stuff like that should be above this, and then exploring the world should happen, and then you'll move into like all of the tables for building worlds and stuff like that. It's the only big critique I have. I think it's fine technically where it's at. I would prefer it later. Anyway, so in the following pages, you're interacting with the setting. How does the referee make it a living place? So there's a whole section on delving into dark places. There's mechanics associated with this. We don't need to read every single part of this game, though. Buy the fucking game, buy the PDF. We'll give you how to do that in a little bit later. But delving into dark places, there is a D12 table for dungeon exploration, and you roll an encounter risk die. And then there are encounters, resources, and finds, which I do really like this. So it's listed: encounter resources, fine. Encounter is rolled or chosen by the ref. A resource result means the party has to roll a risk die for their resources, for your light source, your food, whatever. And then a find die is a lucky break. You actually find shit. I love that. I think that's such an interesting way to do the table.
Very cool.
Because you literally can come to this table with no prep whatsoever, and you can literally roll on building a dungeon as you go and what's in each room as you go. And even if it's just an encounter, you can just roll on an encounter table as you go. And that's so fun and interesting to like build it without having to do a lot of prep. Because you are a referee, not a storyteller. You're not telling a story. The story is told through the narrative of the player's actions. Yeah. Simple encounter roll. It basically says roll, and on the party comes in contact with something on a 1 to 3. Boom. There you go. Player rumors. You don't have to know everything. Let the players fill in the blanks. Have your character who might know about something by a trait check something. On a success, the player gets to say something. On a failure, someone else can say something that is not entirely true. So there's a section here on crossing the wilderness that gives you like the number of hexes you can travel on a day based on like where you're at and stuff like that. There's a section on weather, wilderness exploration, hunting and foraging. There's a section on camp events. It says there's no such thing as a quiet day at the camp. Love that. It reminds me of the Village expansion we talked about with Max Moon, which you can buy pre-ordered at MaximumGames.com. Go check that out. We're not sponsored by anyone. These are just our friends. There's some, these look like gnolls to me with axes and spears drinking little espressos.
I would take that. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's like literally just two fingering them.
Yeah. Just two fingering them. So the first shortcut is fast forward travel. You can fast forward travel. I actually really like this. So we're going to talk about this real quick. So if the referee wants to get to the meat of an adventure without getting bogged down in details, you can roll on this table to gloss over a couple of days. And so this is fast forward traveling. So let's say that you roll a 7, right? You made a discovery at a cost. So you get to say what you did and what you lost, right? You might get pushed back. You pushed back an ambush. Roll your hit dice for your current HP. You know, you got lost. The journey took D4 extra days. Step down your rations. So it gives you a narrative for the journey you went on, where you can fill in what happened without actually having to do it, but without like nothing happening. And I really enjoy that. And then the second shortcut is catching up with the party. If someone joins in the middle of an adventure, you can roll on this D12 table to say what they were doing before they caught up to you, like non-violent contact with a monster or faction, or you fell down a hole and lost a random weapon. And then boom, like you're just there, and they're like, "Where have you been?" "Oh, I got stalked by somebody." They're still following me.
Yeah, a little side adventure you can talk about.
Yeah. And then there's a stories on the road section. Once per trip, each player can describe a situation or problem that the character is involved in. It might be as simple as saying, "I repair a broken wheel," or as dangerous as, "What if a bear owl, not an owl bear, because
not an owl bear,
visited our camp in the dead of night and I shot it with one well-placed arrow." The ref gets the final say. More narrative stuff. I enjoy it. Good. Fights and how to avoid them. We start getting into combat now after all of the world exploration stuff. So time, distance, and action. It's more concerned with creative, descriptive fun, not tactical minigame. Great. So your turns are fast and loose. Each player's character gets a turn until everyone has had one. Every hero still standing is another turn, and so on. Turn order depends on who's doing what, etc. So be clear, establish order, stick with it. That's fine. Initiative, sminitiative. That's what it says in the book. I like it. Use common sense. If you have a ready crossbow, you shoot before something hits you. Boom. There you go.
Easy.
You don't roll for initiative. Just whoever it makes sense to go in the narrative, just fucking go. You don't need square grids, because who gives a shit? You can move around doing the thing that you're going to do. Be reasonable. Fighting for your life. So each turn, you roll your d20 once. Your whole turn, no matter what you're doing, is one check. Right? It's all or nothing. You use strength in melee, dex when melee weapons, and if it calls for something else, like int to hide, whiz for calling aid, con to run, etc. etc. The referee picks. If you succeed and you are attacking, roll your damage for your attack. If you fail, you are hit by whoever was attacking you and you take damage. Boom, that's combat, baby.
Easy.
Yeah, that's it. Damage dealt is always subtracted from your victim's hit points unless they're wearing armor. If you're attacking with a weapon with damage higher than your hit die, you have disadvantage on the damage roll, right? So if your hit die is a D6 and your Dane axe is a D8, you have disadvantage. Advantage and disadvantage in combat. Remember, traits do not grant advantage. Disadvantage, those are really common. Basically, it reflects a monster's combat skill to roll and for you to roll the disadvantage. So if you're ever fighting something with a hit dice higher than you, you're at disadvantage. But it's not just you, it's everyone fighting on it on like that turn. Specifically, it's talking about like your followers, right? So say that, I love the example here. Grim is a level 2 shield maiden with 3 hit dice. Wants to charge a 4 HD ogre, ignoring his 3 goblin retainers. Okay, they all have 3 hit dice in total, so that's a total of 7 hit dice. The referee says she'll get disadvantage, subjected to a lot of damage. She could attack with her 2 spearmen worth 2 HD, but the goblins would still tip the scale. So with her 3 HD and her spearmen, total of 2 HD, they have 5 HD versus the ogre and the goblins, which is a total of 7. Even if they all attack together, everything is a disadvantage. So if your whole party equals 6 hit dice and you're fighting something with 8, everyone's at disadvantage all the time. I love that. I think it's really interesting. It's a way that you can use the same monster against different levels of party and still make it kind of like, I'm not going to use the word balanced, but like fit the combat, right?
Balanced combat, I think, is always the goal, you know?
So low level fighting an owlbear, the owlbear stays the same, but you have disadvantage against it. But once you level up high enough, you lose a disadvantage. The owlbear stays the same, but it's still easy for you to beat because you're higher. I love the abstraction of that. It's really great. Armor, so it's not just the only thing I don't like. Armor, I don't understand. I get it. Okay. I understand it, but I don't get it. So basically, each type of armor has a risk die. We talked about this before. Leather armor is like a D4, right? It absorbs damage like hit points. You roll that die the first time you're hit, as you never know in advance whether your next opponent will be able to find the fault in your armor or not. The result of that risk die is how much damage your armor can soak during this fight. You roll again for your next fight. So let's say your armor is a D8, right? And you roll a 4. Okay? That means this fight you can soak 4 points. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as usual with risk dice, if you roll a 1 to a 3, your armor die is stepped down. This means it has been damaged and needs to be attended to by a smith, unless magical, blah, 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 blah. There's a repair cost, blah, blah. The referee can give you disadvantage when attempting certain things in armor, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so here's my problem, right?
Okay.
For your armor die to step down, you have to roll a 1 to a 3. Your armor soak is the risk roll. You actually roll that dice, and that's the soak you get for that combat. In a game literally designed around like building a narrative and like all the rest of this stuff, right? What happens if you use all of your soak? Like, your armor's only quote unquote damaged if you step it down. So your armor just becomes somehow ineffective but not broken like the first time you get hit.
Yeah, how do you deal with that narratively? You're just like, well, I have no more. So I think I may have read this wrong for some reason, because I read soak as in like, oh, you just have you have 4 armor every time you get hit. I didn't realize it was like a point spin, that like every point you lose that, right? So if I have 4 overall, that means after I like soak 4, I have no more armor, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you deal with that narratively. I originally like thought that was saying, oh, like your armor soaks 4 like from every hit, you know?
But yeah, I mean that's like this is what I'm talking about specifically for this and the risk and the usage die and having like, I love the way that the risk dice are used in everything except for this, because it doesn't make sense that your armor soaks a different amount every single fight, but only gets damaged if you roll a 1 to a 3.
Yeah, there is a little incongruity with like logic and the actuality of the rule set.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I definitely feel the like snag there. And I don't know that like care too much about it, but it does like kind of mess up how logically you feel like armor works.
But like say that's the thing though, right? Like say we're fighting, right? Like, and you roll your D8 and you get a 4, so now you have 4 soak. Something hits you for 4, and now the next time something hits you, it's just going to hit you, but your armor's not broken.
Right. But your armor's not broken though. So, I mean, I honestly would play this the way that I explained it, which is like, oh no, you just have 4 armor for this fight. Like every time you get hit, someone does 6 damage to you. Your armor soaks 4. You only take 2 damage. Next time you get hit for 5, your armor soaks 4. You take 1 damage. That's how I, in my brain, would run this.
Yeah, and so Christian Sorrell, Meek House of Gamer, go buy a shit, go vote for them in the innies. Is saying that they think it's soak per turn, but I'm pretty sure as I read later in the game, in the combat section, we'll get to it, it talks about it just not being that way. So we'll get to it. But anyway, so like that's weird to me. And I honestly would just give armor a value.
Yeah.
And just give it like a soak value.
I mean, the nice thing about this game is like stuff like this, you could just slot something else into this rule space.
Yeah.
Like it's be effortless.
Yeah. Here's what I would do. The soak is half of whatever the dice is. And
cool.
If you get hit during combat, after combat, you need to roll your risk die to see if your armor was broken during combat.
Very clean way to deal with this.
Yeah. So like if you have a D10, you have 5 soak. You know what I mean? So that's it. Shields will be splintered. Shields are handy. Referee should give you advantage when using yours. Shields are splintered by axes and burnt by dragonfire, and you can sacrifice your shield to negate damage from any one attack. Boom. But there is a stunning blow thing, which I think is neat. This is an optional rule. When armor or shields protect characters from damage that would have brought them to 0 HP, you make a con check to avoid being knocked out. Check your con again after a few turns to see if someone helps you defeat. So you don't take any damage because your armor soaked it. But if that damage would have hit you to 0, that you can get knocked out by it. So the armor protected you from dying, but not from getting knocked on your fucking ass. So that literally says that is the basics. That's combat. That's how combat works. And then there's other stuff underneath it. So tactical risks. If you're willing to put yourself in harm's way. Charging, attacking recklessly, the referee can give you some options. If your combat check is successful, you or an ally get advantage on your next turn. If it's a failure, you get disadvantage on your next turn. So you can say, I want to take a tactical risk and then potentially get advantage, disadvantage. There's a whole section here on complex turns where that is when you can have like a multi-roll turn. And the example is a thief wants to like jump on a table, slide down, break through the window and shoot out of the bar. But someone's like trying to stab them as they slide down the table and stuff like that. And they have to roll to like slide across the table, avoid the daggers, and break the window. And that's 3 rolls. Love that. Great. Shooting in melee is a thing. You can hit people. That's a thing. Running combat in 6 steps. I like this. We're going to go through it real quick. So the
love a numbered list.
Yeah, it's so great. 1 check a turn. I mean, a flowchart would be nice, but I love this list. It's great. The 1 check a turn mechanic may feel weird, but here you go. So you started the turn. You describe the location, the threats, the monsters, and what they do, especially who they target. The general situation is clear to everyone. That is to the GM. Number 2, the first character gets to ask the player what they would like to do. So who acts first depends on the situation. Before any dice roll, the character's circumstances are made super clear, and the character's turn is resolved with a check. Done. Damage is dealt, consequences, you move on. Number 3, the next character acts. This should happen in order of fictional importance. Describe the character's circumstances exactly like before. Number 4, repeat step 3. Number 5, have all the NPCs done something? If not, describe what they do and give who is affected a chance to react. So again, the bad guys only hit if you fuck up and they hit you. Except if at the end of everything, there's some bad guys that didn't get to go, they get to go, but they put themselves in a situation that the player then reacts to and gets a chance to roll, and then you go on. I love that. I love that. That's so fun and interesting. I might steal the shit out of that for something. And that's it. It's super easy. One of the important things, and one of the things that lends itself to a lot of like these OSR style games, because OSR is dead, is that since everything is based on like characters, like the narrative is, again, it's an emergent narrative. It's not a story. You're not a storyteller. You're just adjudicating situations. Before a player makes a decision, they should know all things. Like the referee is never like a trickster, like hiding shit from them or whatever. There's no gotchas. So before the player does something, they should know all of the situation and then get to do that. Stealth and surprise, it's a thing. What do you think? It's that. Wounds and death. And there's this really cool person with like chainmail that's coffee colored, like sipping on a coffee. Yep. Blowing
on it. He's cooling it down.
Blowing. Yeah. So at 0 HP, HP, you're unconscious and bleeding. You make a con check to determine if you're still breathing. If it's a failure, make a new character while your friends split your gear amongst themselves. I love that.
It's a really good part.
Yeah. If you succeed, you go back to 1 HP, and then there's other stuff you got to do. You've sustained a grievous wound, though, so you lose a level to represent the loss in abilities, and then all the stuff that comes with it. So, like, when you lose a level, you have to, like, take away, like, the stuff you would have got from a level. So if you get 2 when you level up, you have to take 2 away when you level down. So if it was HD, if it was, like, if it was a stepped-up dice, whatever, boom, it's gone.
Cool,
yeah.
though. I mean, that makes sense. You know, like,
yeah.
It's a good way to represent lasting injury.
Yep. How do you get it back? Do it again. There's no way to get back what you lost. Resting and eating. Guess what? You can do those things. There are optional rules for stamina and sanity, which are risk die related. So that's fine. Magic healing, it exists. It's fine. We're gonna get a magic here soon. You can heal with it. Long rest and referee turns. Basically, it just says like during long rests and stuff like that. If you choose to take a long rest, that is the referee's turn to advance the world. You know, again, you're not telling a story, but you are building the world and like the moving parts in it, so that the player's action, so that the world is not, you know, the world is not like the pre-Galilean concept of the universe, right? They are not the sun with everything revolving around them. The players exist within a moving world. And when you take a long rest, the referee goes, this faction does this, and this lich does that, and they're trying to go over here. Well, they're not there anymore. And then there you go. Spells and chaos. Do you want to do magic?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to do magic? Right.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, magic costs HP. It starts at 1. And as you add effects, we'll just do the thing. Yeah. So, oh, that's you in the chat now. Magic costs HP. The cost is figured by all basic spells cost 1. You can never spend more than you have HP. And as you increase the effects of a spell, the range of the spell, the targets of the spell, you add on to the cost. It's got a nice little bullet list here. If you know, of where to add cost. I'm fucking stumbling today. But you roll, and on a successful roll, magic works as discussed. And on a failure, it doesn't work unless you let chaos come into play, which comes in next. And on critical rolls, you have additional consequences. A natural 20, the referee decides what goes wrong or picks a mishap. And on 1, you don't lose HP. And I did skip this. For the rolls, it can be intelligence, wisdom, and sometimes charisma. It's fairly traditional, kind of like the magic stats, you know. Little blurb here, specialist magic. You can allow characters with traits such as illusionist or pyromancer to avoid rolling with disadvantage when casting a spell with a cost higher than their level. However, being specialized means lacking certain knowledge. Pyromancer wouldn't know water magic very well and probably couldn't do ice magic at all. Very stuff. And like I said, spell costs 1. It's instantaneous. It affects creatures with a short range by default, and it deals or heals 1 damage by default, and has an inconsequential yet possible entertaining effect, increasing the cost by 1 to 5 points for each, and that is generic wording. For example, if you use something generic like necromancy as an example of a generic, raise dead, or it would be more specified, but a more generic, broader would increase the cost. Instant casting time would increase the cost, increasing the range targets, things like that. It raises the cost of the spell. And this is how magic is. It's not quite triangulated like it is in White Hack, but it is like it's just added up. You are building.
Yeah.
You can also
literally says like start at 1, and then every one of these that you added to it, you can just be like, all right, it's a long range with an extra target, and the HD is higher, and I want it to last a minute, and it's going to be a big fucking thing. Well, it went from 1, and now it costs like 6, and that's your HP, buddy. Yeah.
And you can lower the effects by like having an arcane focus, having magical reagents, like being in a place of power. Narrative stuff will help you, lower the cost of these spells.
Yeah. I do like what it specifically says there, though, underneath the bullet points there. Like, do not waste everyone's time counting beans. Like don't fuck around and argue and like do whatever. Like, kind of know what you want to do. When the referee tells you how much HP, unless it seems fucking crazy, just say okay and roll with it,
Absolutely.
Love it. Did you see all the chaos is? Chaos.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, it's like that's the
next page. Chaos.
And it comes back up, and then we have some art of a creature that is legally distinct from a beholder for sure.
Yep. Holding a coffee cup with his mind's eye.
Oh, I thought he was for a second. I thought he was thinking about a coffee cup, but I do see now that's like psychic energy.
Yeah. Because thinking would just be a bubble. This is like a little.
You're right. It's a little blob. Yeah. So moving on. Chaos. Chaos risk die. The chaos risk die represents the stability of magic in the area. It starts at 12, but also given narrative situations, it might start lower. And this is our spell mishap table, which you can pick from as the referee, or you can roll on. Ryan, why don't you roll a 12?
Oh, I rolled a 4.
4. What's that one?
Erasure. The magic works, but you forget the spell until you sleep a full night. What I love about the chaos table is that obviously you roll on this if you mishap your spell, but you can also if anytime you fail a spell check, you can just roll on this anyway, just because you want something fun to happen.
And there's a couple of really good ones. I think one is you get back all the HP lost from a spell, because even if you fail on the spell it does still cost HP to do it. The mutation one's cool too. Your spell actually ends up working, but you're all weird now.
Yep. I like this. I like a lot of, like, they're all really good. Like, there's a weak spell, lack of control, erasure, delayed action, like all this stuff. It's a really cool spell mishap table, but also just like, again, the chaos table where you're like, oh, I failed that roll.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens, And
it is a risk die. So the moment your risk die goes down and fizzles out, essentially, like the chaos just doesn't work anymore. Like when you fail, you just fail, and that's the end of that for them. Yeah,
it's neat. That's really cool. Finding spells. This section literally says like, great, you can learn spells or whatever, but you can just go find spells too, which is dope.
Love that.
Foci, reagents, magic materials, they exist. You can have them.
They exist.
They help
They're
you.
risk die based, and they help make things easier to cast.
Yeah, it reduces your HP cost. So when you can actually roll your reagents to get a number, and that if the GM says it's going to cost you 6, and you say, all right, I got D4 reagents, I rolled a 3, it only cost me 3. My reagents are gone, but I reduced the cost of that. Boom. Because it costs you HP for everything. So anything you can use to buffer that HP, a focus, reagents, like, items and stuff that help you do that, it's great. Faith is a thing. You can use your faith in the Lord.
Magic.
Yeah. So you actually get a faith, like a faith dice to do that with the same thing. So you're spending faith instead of like HP and stuff like that, or like to offset the costs. Magic items exist. You can create them. There's a section here about it. There's a whole table here for like drugs and intoxication. Guess what? They use users die. And they're cool. There's a dragon drinking some coffee. There's example of magic at play, and it's an entire.
Can we just read the first
page.
sentence?
Go for it.
It was just the Edith is referring for Opto, the psionic elf bot. Just that. That was all I needed from that.
Yeah, that's dope. These are great. It's great. It's an entire page on how it works, what the referee is doing, like how to cast spells, everything. It's a great example of play. It is very long, but it's very
yeah, it is long.
But it tells you exactly how it works and like when things fail and everything. So like this is exactly what you want, is to be able to have a narrative example play that teaches you how to do stuff. There's 3 sample spells here. We're not going to go through them basically, but one of the things I did like about the first one, the Thuvia's Rain of Blades, is once someone does come up with something that they're using the spells to do, just write it down and the cost that you were given, and you can use that as the general cost next time, so you don't have to calculate every time. Like maybe you're like, well, it was 6 HP last time, it's a little bit easier this time, so it's 5, or it's a little bit harder this time, so it's 7. But you can start 5 steps in just by writing it down, and that's great. Downtime and domains, it exists. There's fine. You can have domains like entertainment, highway robbery, manual labor. They're fine. They exist. You can also do a job during your downtime to make money. And whenever you do, you roll, and if you fail, there's a consequence while you were doing your job. So you could hurt yourself on downtime, or get arrested, or go into debt or something while working your job between adventures. And I just love the idea of someone like waiting table, or like a barista at a cafe between adventures.
Your shoulder waiting tables, and now you can't go on your next adventure.
Now you can't go on an adventure, right? Or you get in an argument and someone kidnaps you and takes you away, because that's in here. That's great. Off-screen expeditions, you can roll for it, and that's great. Carousing and nights out, again, reminds me of the village. It's great. A carousing table, D12, and you roll it based. It's a coin. It's a coin die. So like and more chaos. Domains in traditional campaigns, adventurers end up managing domains. It's here. Your finances, mass combat, feuding factions. Stability and trouble. There's a stability dice. There's like trouble happening. So a bandit's coming, and a disaster coming, an assassination attempt. That's here. 50 Shades of Macchiato Monsters. So there's 50 monsters here, including a dope graphic of a wolf howling in front of a moon. But the moon is the bottom coffee cup circle stain. It's such a great piece. But there's 50 monsters here. For example, let's go with number 27. Mantis Mercenary, D6, comes with pre-installed plates and blades. HD3, Armor Delta 8, Razor Claws, D6, Morale D8. That's a monster. And there's 50 of them. They're interesting. They're neat. There's a lot of like Iron Pumpkin, Leotar, and Serpent Sorcerer. But like, it's super easy to reskin the shit. Serpent Sorcerer can easily be something else. You just like reskin stuff. So that's great. It's great that there's 50 of them. It's interesting that like in like Knave, there's like 50 spells, and in this there's literally 50 monsters and more chaos.
Yeah, let's go.
And then there's a bunch of sideways tables. These are drop tables. We're not going to go over all of them, but we are going to look at one, and I'm actually going to rotate this. Okay, I rotated the whole document, so now we can look at it this way. So
perfect.
So these are a drop table. So we're going to look at one and then just tell you what the rest of them are. So you drop a D6 and a D8 on the next page. So when you go to the next page, there are 20 blocks on this page, and in each block there is a 1 through 8 list. Okay, so you would take a D6 and a D8 and you would drop them on the table. Okay, if necessary, read D6 to D8 on the table below to get an occupation. Add both results if you need a morale dice or want to know what the character is currently doing. Okay, so there's a thing on the side. It says D6. If your D6 is less than your D8, they're self-serving or neutral. If the D6 is greater than the D8, they're altruistic, good, or lawful. And if it's equal to, they're dishonest, evil, or chaotic, right? And then there is just a whole fucking thing. So if you drop it and you land on number 9 and it's a D6, they're a compulsive liar, right? And if you drop the other one and it lands in box 12 and it was a D8, and they got an 8, they are actually dead. Or one below that, they feed pigeons raw meat, right? But above that, there's these other lists. So like the 11 to 48 here, the table of like doing both and you add them together is 11 to 68. So if you do that and you get like a 24, they're a watchman or tax collector, right? That is a compulsive liar and feeds meat to pigeons. That's what you get. So that's your NPC, and it also automatically tells you what their demeanor is. It tells you what their dice is, what the NPC like delta dice is, and it gives you what they're currently doing. So if you had got like a 9 by adding the two together, they're sleeping or resting. So it gives you all of those things just by dropping 2 dice on a table on a piece of paper. It gives you everything you know about an NPC. I love these. These drop tables are cool. Fucking amazing. So there's one for townspeople. There's one for plots, whole plots that factions are doing, including when wheels are in motion, when everything's in flames. Like, it's great. There's a whole one for factions, for adventure locales, for creatures, items and treasure. I will use this for every game. I think they're amazing.
I should use drop tables more. I like the idea of them. I just never actually used them, you know.
But I love this one specifically because of the way that it gives you like 5 things with like, add the dice together. Which one's greater? Which one's less than? What did they land on? Like, it's so great. You just drop 2 and you get like 10 things. There's a map generator that tells you like literally like what's coming up next. So again, you can build out a whole hex without having to build a hex first. It's great. There's a forest exploration table. So you literally drop onto this table, and where it lands and whatever you rolled, it'll tell you what's going on there. It'll tell you it's a trap, it's a monster, and what kind it is. Great. And then that's the game. The drop tables at the end are worth the price of admission alone.
Very amazing. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. That's us.
That's me.
We're gonna head over to the review score. So this is obviously a full book. It's like almost 60 pages. For those that don't know and can't see the screen, we actually quantify our terrible opinions into 5 categories with a max potential of 10. So from 1 to 10, possibility of 50 points. Those categories are art and layout, which is the art in the book, and the layout visually. The usability of the book, which is a lot of times it's the digital tools, bookmarking, stuff like that, things in the right order, like how well you can use the information that's given to you. The rule set, if it's a unique rule set, do we like it? If it's a hacked rule set, how well does it achieve what it was trying to hack? Originality can be any originality in anything, whether it's art, like rules, whatever. Value is bang for your buck. It's not just the cost of the game itself, but all of the ancillary stuff you can potentially get with it, like third-party licensing and extra adventures and all sorts of shit. So, art and layout. I think the layout's about 1,000,000 times better than White Hack.
Yeah. Well, that bar is on the floor. I think this it's a good looking like black and white book. Well, it's more than black and white. It's coffee color in as well. The art's good. It's gray. It's gray too. It's incredibly readable. I don't have any major like bashes on the layout.
No.
I don't think it's not like high art or anything, but like I think it looks good and it's incredibly usable, and it's a shorter book, so. Yeah,
for black and white layout that's just trying to impart information in an instructional way, it's great. It's great. The headers there's nothing about it like in for example, like Black Hack, there's every other fucking word is bolded because they didn't just bold the first time they told you something, they bolded it for the entire book. Like there were whole pages that were taken up almost by just the headers for stuff that they had already explained or you didn't need a header for because it's like 2 lines long.
Cool, like, thanks, I guess.
It's just like on its own, like none of the headers were a problem or anything, but there was just too many of them. Too many things were bolded, too many things were italicized. Like the layout was just like, that's what we mean by like if it's a black and white book, like you would think it's just fucking layout. It's not. Like it's simple, but there's bullet points when you need bullet points. There's numbered lists when you need numbered lists. Well, that's usability. The layout's fine. I like the art. Again, there's no big empty spaces. Again, like the macchiato thing, really digging into the art, I think is hysterical. It cracks me up. The Sphinx is great. It's not an art book by any stretch, but I think it's a well laid out book with some good art, great spot art, couple of big pieces.
I'm feeling a solid 7 on this.
7 is where I was going with it too. Yeah. Like this is like this is how a simple layout with some good art gets a good score by just doing it well. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be Mark Borg.
Absolutely.
Usability.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, I think this is 5 for me on usability.
5. Yep, I agree. I think that if it had digital tools, obviously it would go up. So there are no usabilities. Like there's inline references to other pages frequently, but no, like at least on the PDF, nothing there. And again, it's kind of crazy that the previous version of this did have at least a hyperlink table of contents, and this one doesn't.
That is interesting.
Not even any bookmarks built into the PDF, which is weird.
That's actually almost the one that gets me the most. That there's not even bookmarks in the PDF. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, because like if you do a Google Doc, it like builds the outline of bookmarks for you already. You know what I mean? So it's like it's weird. But like so there's none of those things. And I think there's just like the one section I personally feel could be in a better place. I get why it's there. I don't have necessarily a problem with it. I wish it was lower though. Like I would put the whole exploring the wildlife section right before all of the stuff that we did kind of at the end, where it's a lot of like building the world. I think this is
a perfectly serviceable game book. Like it's fine. Like it's like usability tools are not stellar, but it's not bad at all. I think it's a perfect 5. It's like honestly,
This is when you have 0 digital tools, the vast 90% of the game is put together really well in a way that like it tells you where all the pages are. How do you get a bad score in this? Because we rarely give out, I don't know if we've ever given less than a 4 in any of the scores, but like how would you get a bad usability if, say, this game, you strip out all the references to where pages are, right? You mix up all of the stuff in like a weird order, right? That makes it all like unusable. Like those are ways where this would be dropping to like lower and lower. But like this is just well done it's just done. Like so it's a 5. It's bang average, and that's fine. Rule set. Okay. I like
this rule set.
I love it so much. This is like outside of armor, as far as like the rule set itself goes, I can't think of a way that I would really change too much of this.
No, I think this is really good. And I, once again, as a person who loves usage die, like it's cool to see them implemented throughout an entire rule set. And I think in most places except armor implemented really well in a way that follows like a single train of kind of like logic on it. And you're like, cool, I know what to do with these things.
Yeah. I love the way that they give you a lot of depth to extremely simple mechanics. Both like narratively, mechanically, to abstract a thing into a way that makes it like really like intuitive to understand. And one of the things we always say when we bring up a rule set is if it's a hacked rule set, how well is it hacked? And when you're hacking something, like why are you doing it? And what is the goal? And did you accomplish it? Right? They're mixing black and white hack up to build a game of emergent narrative role play. In a old school style where you build the world and the situations as you go. Does this game do that? Yeah. I think it fucking does stellar. Does stellar. And not only that, I mean the fucking the all of the drop tables at the end. Amazing. I'm gonna use those for like every game. What are your thoughts?
I'm at like an 8 for this, honestly.
Yeah, I'm at an 8 too. I'm at an 8 too. Yeah, I'm closer to a 9 than I am a 7, but I think I'm still at an 8. I don't know what I would do to bump it up. I don't know what would make this a 9.
It's such an abstract score in my mind. You know, I really am just like throwing darts at the board.
But what's funny is how often that we are thinking of almost the exact same number, and I don't know if we're ever more than 1 point off of each other, because
it just feels
like an 8. It feels like an 8, you know. Well, there's only one game that's ever gotten a 10. Did we
Monopoly?
Yeah, Monopoly got it, but Kingdoms did. Did we bump Necronalis up too, or did we keep that one at 9?
Oh, well, I thought we were going to bump Necronalis up. We should.
I don't know. No. I think
Whatever. That's not a discussion for today.
Originality. So for our monster fucker rom-com book here.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, is it original in any way? I mean, it's a dungeon game. So, you know, I mean, it's not really the focus of this. I think it's a hack of another game and it's done well.
Yes.
I think that's important. It's a hack of 2 games done well.
Yeah.
I think risk die are implemented in the way that I think there aren't always in a lot of other games, and it's cool to see that here. And I feel like that's fairly original.
Yeah,
maybe not the concept itself, but its application in this game. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to strike very high for me in originality because it's not really original in most ways.
But that's the thing too, is it's not the thing of this is it wasn't. Like, originality was not the goal of this. Like, they combined 2 things to literally make something you can do BX with. So, like, the point of it was to not necessarily be, like, super original. The point was to just do a thing that a lot of other things do, just in a different way. And I love the way that they did do it. You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. What are you thinking?
6.
Like a 6? That's exactly what I was thinking. And this is also why when we give scores, you should look at the individual score, not necessarily the overall, and pick the one that matters to you, right? If a rule set's really important, I can show you rule sets that got 8s on rule set and 4 on layout, you know? And value.
So it's the PDF is 7 pounds. So that's 8-ish.
Where are you getting that PDF from? That 7 pounds?
Shop.lostpages.co.uk.
Oh, you didn't just go to Drive-Through RPG?
No, I'm a freak. I'm a freaky little guy, and I went directly to Lost Pages website.
Okay, so if you want it on Drive-Through, it's $6.
Okay. It's what?
$6.
Oh, that's crazy.
Cheap as
Honestly,
fuck.
it's crazy. I mean, for a game that's like, oh, it's mostly randomly generated, and you generate things as you go. I'm like, well, that's just endless gameplay for like
it's great.
$6.
So watermark PDF $6. Stop DRMing your shit, Drive-Through.
Yeah, please stop doing that.
Fuck, come on. Soft cover black and white book, the thing that I have in my hand right now, A5 perfect bound, $12.
Oh, super reasonable.
$12 to get this POD black and white, and same cost to get obviously the PDF with it. So $12 for PDF and this book, normally 18, marked down to 12. I don't know if it's normally marked down to 12. $12, and then the PDF and soft cut together is $12. It might be one of those things where it's 18 but it's always 12.
It's always
like
on sale,
to 12. Yeah.
That's a great fucking deal. Never does that.
That's a great deal. I mean, again, it's 60 pages. It's 60 pages, even as a POD. $12. Honestly, $12 is not even enough for the PDF of this. The PDF of this should be like $12 to $15.
Yeah, absolutely. The PDF should be more expensive. It just should be. But it's nice that it's affordable. It's nice that the door is easy to open to get to this game. I'm giving this a strong 8.
8? I guess.
You give it a 9?
No. So I guess my only problem, I guess, for a high score on value, right, is like this is so again, value is not cost. Value is bang for your buck, right? So like the cost of this is relatively inexpensive, but outside of the fact that like with everything that's technically OSR, you can technically run all OSR. There's not a bunch of other Macchiato Monster stuff. There's not
very true.
Like there's no.
But you can run everything pretty easily. There is a lot of generators in there. You know, there's a lot of content to be made.
Here's another problem that I have with the current take on this, right? Is Macchiato Monsters 0 edition, right? Came with character creation examples, separate die drop tables, character sheets, a city crawl, like all sorts, like all of these extras came with 0. Right. But none of them came with this, right? Those are the things. This is what I'm talking about for as far as value, right? Like that's what we mean is like value,
Yeah.
right? The cost of this is inexpensive, but like no digital character sheets, none of the stuff that you got from Zero, none of the drop tables is like a separate PDF, like no extra resources whatsoever. That's the thing that knocks it down for me, because those are easy because like they already exist, you know.
Yeah,
to throw that into the folder with the PDF. Yeah.
So what do you think?
That's where,
I'm down to lower my score. Then what are you thinking?
I'm somewhere between like I mean, it's only $6, so you got to give us something for that.
That's the thing is that really knocks it up. So I think I'm still at a 7.
7, easy. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So 7 plus 5 plus 8 plus 6 plus 7 equals 33. Is that it?
33. Respectable.
Yep.
You're correct.
7 plus 5. Well, I think it's that 5 on the usability thing that like really yeah, 33. If they, here's the thing, is that would easily be closer to like a 36 or a 37 if they bookmarked and hyperlinked the PDF and threw in some character sheets and separate drop table stuff into the PDF stuff. And it would easily be like a mid to high 30s instead of a low 30s. But anyway, so that is the game. That is Macchiato Monsters. It's a great game. I really love it. Super enjoyable, relatively inexpensive from Lost Pages. Definitely go check out everything that Lost Pages does. They are a fantastic publisher. And at some point, maybe we'll hear from Lost Pages. Go vote for the innies. If anyone's ever been on our show, vote for them because they're cool.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's our episode. We will see you next week. I don't know what we're doing. Is Jert back next week?
Ooh, is that next week? That might be next week, actually. Yeah.
But also on Monday, a little preview for what's coming up. We are going to be having Prismatic Wastelands on to chat once again. Second time that they are going to be coming back. So we're going to be talking to them on Monday, and I think Jert is actually coming on the same week. So we're not reviewing a game next week, I guess, because we got an interview on Monday and Friday. So we'll see what interview we're doing in 2 weeks, and maybe we'll stick to more reviews instead of interviews. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.